That's my favorite part of the night.
After the TCU game, did you feel like the team needed better shooting percentage from Chris Eversley, a guy who scores 21 points, the first 20-point scorer here in more than a year?
Well, I wasn't specifically concerned with Chris. I was concerned about the whole team. As a team, we shot 35%. And I attributed a lot of that, sometimes you get tired of the coaches that talk about, oh, we didn't shoot well, we didn't do this well. Hey, look there's a guy guarding you, and you got to take your hat off to what TCU had defensively. Trent Johnson's coached 30 years, a Division I guy for 25 years at high major level, and his kids play their butts off defensively, and they forced us to do a real poor percentage and kept our score very low. What I felt like this game, I thought they did a real good job on us the first half because we were still kind of into the, oh my goodness, what should I do mode. I think we were still thinking about our offensive flow. We changed a few things at half just to minimize our post motion and maximize our perimeter motion. So we just had our post stop trying to screen across, and we started just locating off that because they were switching it. And we really weren't ever getting an advantage for a seal. And so once we stopped the cross action, we were able to get Chris better touches. And then we had Jamal hit and cut through, so he was coming off, getting the ball in the wing off the motion. And then when the things really opened up for us offensively is when we were able to have Chris on one side, Brian on the other side, and then Jamal coming off, pin down action, coming off the curl where he could catch it, penetrate, and then he was able to fan the ball out a little bit and get Dylan involved and get Kyle involved. So I just thought that we had a better understanding of what we're trying to do offensively, and it was a second half tale of two tapes offensively. Obviously, we said to our guys, we played 4 great halves defensively now. We played 2 great halves at TCU, and we played 2 great halves here. And we said, hey, defense keeps you in every single game every night. Defense and rebounding. That's what we've said from day one we've been here. That's why we've been able to compete with most teams on every night at every night level. And then as our offense becomes more comfortable and our players become more comfortable and the aggressiveness is more there. Of all the stats, though, I'd say the most impressive thing is we had 12 assists and only 5 turnovers. And that gives you a chance to really identify not a point guard that just does a nice job with 7 and 2, but that gives credit to the rest of the team that says, hey, everybody else minimizes, what we call, being ball tough. You just can't be loose to the basketball. And that minimized how many catastrophic turnovers that lead to easy baskets on their end. They got a few, but those were really easy baskets. They came off as what we were doing on the on-ball. We hedged it, tried to recover. At the very end, said, forget it. We'll just switch every single on-ball, and then we'll fix them on the backside. So I thought we made the game difficult for them defensively all night, but we found a rhythm offensively. How about that for a short answer to the question?
30 free throws, too. Can that kind of pace up? Are we going to see a lot of that?
Well, we'd love to have that, be able to get to the free throw line 30 times. I think that there's always the distorted stat we talk about is that when you're ahead with 2 minutes to go and the other team's forced to press and chase you ended up with 6 or 8 free throws out. Yeah,
you were still to the line a lot more than they were.
Yeah, and I thought that we clearly tried to stay with that philosophy first and second half. Get the ball inside, and then allowed Chris to come to the middle, allowed Brian to get to the middle. But then also I just thought that we penetrate. We got the ball. We had stats. We said stats. I mean, stupid stats, but we were 0 for 5. From the field, we were 0 for 5 touching the paint. And our percentage is like 67% last year when the ball touched the paint, whether it's on penetration or post-up. If we get in the paint, then something good happens on the outside. So we just continue to try to beat our guys to death about the importance of paint touches. I don't care what level where you're at, but some nights like a Northridge last year, great, you can pass the ball around and knock down. But it's just fool's gold. You're just not going to win many games by perimeter shooting all night, and you picked it out, but it's got to be interior scoring, free throw scoring, and perimeter scoring. You get that balance, and we think that we have a great chance on Monday night against Fresno State because we can defend and then go ahead and hit some, keep a balanced offense.
Did it start out great from long range, 1 for 11 in the first half? Was that just missing rhythm open shots, or was there something more to it? What was the story?
It's assistant coaches we were walking out, and I think I put on the grease board, I put 1 for 11. I made it very clear that we were 1 for 11. I said, that's great, because we won't shoot that part in the second half. This is our home court, and over 20 minutes we will get more good shots and we'll knock them down. And they say, well, is that just psychology? And I truly believe it. And I think the guys, we weren't expecting that we'd go, 2 for 22. If that's the case, then you got to really evaluate, well, are you taking good shots or not? Are the right guys getting them? But I think a couple of offensive changes we made got more open rhythm shots. And I think that's critical for for all our guys. I mean, Kyle, we ran some double screen action for him. He knocked one down. We ran some reverse action where Dylan came up top and had flat-footed, what we call flat-footed naked threes. And those naked threes, I think we have enough good shooters that eventually we're going to hit. Did Reese hit a three for us?
No, scoreless.
Eversley hit the other three there. So Dylan ended up with three of them. Kyle ended up with one of them. Chris O'Brien had a nice rhythm three there as well, and then Eversley. So I thought Chris Eversley's 21 points and 10 rebounds. What I liked most about that game of his was the balance of 10 field goal attempts and 3 3-pointers. We want him to be able to take threes, but we want him to be able to beast inside. And the last thing I said to him, and in practice, double-double. I don't hear anything else. You got to be a double-double. It's like, he's got to look at that as, hey, I got to get a double-double. He's got to be aggressive, look to scoring, and then he's got to be a beast on the boards. I liked his rebounds when he came out of nowhere. Those animal boards that all of a sudden, where's that body come from? And 6'6", 6'7", 230 flying through the air, and those are men's boards. The pros pay for that kind of rebounding, and that's what we say. You want to be a pro, then you got to keep on working on that part of it.
Had a tip dunk.
Yeah.
On a Royer layout miss. That was pretty impressive.
Pretty
Owen has a
springy.
good photo of it.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Thanks.
Talk about the run in the second half and the importance of getting in the paint. It seems like there was a lot of, like you said, perimeter passing in that first half. The second half, it seemed like it was more drive and kick, or at least get a little bit different action.
I thought the biggest thing was how we got to the drive and kick, and then how we got to it was with exchanging our top down cut. And once the guy was, the top went inside of the key, we had the pin down screen. And you come off that pin down screen, Jamal did a really good job of slowing down and waiting. And then you're popping, you're curling, you're catching the ball on the move. It's hard to guard someone that's on the move. And we had a lot more standing around, and we're kind of, we didn't have. What happens is that when we're screening across for one another, then the bigs aren't able to really be a pin down screen guy. So we just eliminated that. And it's kind of 2 or 3 different kind of actions that we have that we can go either way, and from night to night or half to half, or 10 minutes out, we can make those adjustments. That how do we need to get that ball into the paint?
What does it mean to have a freshman who gets a double-double down low starting at center, and then tonight I think 8 and 7, I think 8.7 rebounds, and kind of establishing the middle there? I mean, there's not a lot of guys who are moving him down low.
Well, I think I'm glad you brought up that, because of the things that he's given us, the 2 things that I'm obsessive-compulsive about is defense and taking care of the ball. He gives us a presence defensively that he's able to hold his ground against. This guy was 260, 270.
Right.
And so he's able to hold his ground physically so that we're able to, not have to, double team it all the time. Second thing is he's strong with the basketball. We can go to him a little bit offensively. It's not the main option, but it's a second interior option. He can go into his left shoulder jump hook and he'll continue to develop his confidence like an offense. But those 2 things are the most critical part of me. He can defend and he can be ball strong. Now you can extend your minutes, because now you're not hey, let's hope he can play 15 or 20 minutes. You start and you play, and as everybody else continues to develop, it's nice to even get 2 more minutes out of Joe Alwich. You got to remember we have Zach Gordon, Joe Alwich, Reese Morgan, and Brian Bennett. You have 4 guys that never played a college basketball game. That's their first college basketball game in Cal Poly. So there's 4 guys that just, for the first time tasting the crowd and the emotions that go along with it and the speed. So I think that's pretty big for us to win and get a little getting those 2 post players, freshmen, developing while you win. That's more enjoyable. That's a lot more enjoyable.
Yeah, Coach, can you articulate what you think Chris Eversley's role is going to be as the season progresses?
Well, we've got to continue to use him as a scorer. We got to continue to use him as an energy player. He's got to continue to understand that as he has success, he's going to have commitment to stopping his success. But I tell people, I said, the hardest difference between high school and college is you have 4 grown men, full-time job, and livelihood based upon making you look bad in the next game. And so he's going to have, Fresno State may bring a double team to him very quick. We're anticipating that here's what's going to happen. you're going to have fewer opportunities to get clean one-on-one post moves. You have fewer opportunities to have direct drives. And so you're going to get blocked off a little more conscientiously. As you have success, people will game plan against him a little bit. And I think that's going to be the fun part for him and the team is saying, okay, now how do you play off that? Okay, now, how do we feel? How do you become a better passer? One of the things that we continue to talk to him about is the ability to, be in a one-to-one assist-turnover ratio guy. And it's something he's going to have to continue to work on tonight. He was, I think, one of the few players. Well, Jamal had 2 turnovers, but, Jamal and C had 4 of our 5 turnovers. And we got to look at it also mathematically. They probably touched the ball 75% of the time. Jamal definitely had it 70% of the time, and probably another 60% of the time. And Chris Eversley probably touched it the other, 22% of the time. And so, I think that's critical that we keep those guys, him going, but him understanding this is just the start of a long 28 more battles ahead of us.
Do you expect him to be the leading scorer night in and night out?
I don't know if he'll be night in, night out. I especially think he's going to be a go-to guy that could very well be our leading scorer. I don't even know if he's our leading scorer right now. I'm not much of a stat rat until about 10 games. We try to play the whole preseason. I try to even stay away from looking at, too many things like individually. I always look at things team-wise, but individually, I try not to pick up a cumulative stat sheet. Somebody will say, hey, after 3 or 4 games, someone's shooting 48%, somebody's shooting 92%, and somebody, it's like, God, I took a stats class. You have to have a sample. You have to have a sample size first, okay? And 3 games is not a sample size. 10 games is a decent sample size where you can find true trends. It's style of play. It's how many games were on the road, how many games were at home. What was the level of the opponent, what was the scouting report, and so I'm pretty slow to look at that. And you ask me that at Christmas, I'll have a much more sincere answer about what Chris Eversley's scoring role and game role is. We just got to see what else develops as we get going.
So do you give yourself like 10 games to really kind of clearly define guys' roles in your own mind too, especially with this team? Last year's team was a lot more experienced, so maybe you had a better picture. This year it seems like.
Well, on top of that, people forget we spent 3 weeks together in Costa Rica, and that was a tremendous advantage early in the year where we were playing teams that had not spent that much time together. And so, we were able to jump on, some teams earlier in the year, and our offense was a little more clicking. And, I think that this now is kind of like, okay, well, maybe we have some experienced players, but we still have guys that haven't played that much together. Because you really look at it, Kyle Oddister was a very limited player last year, and Chris O'Brien is in some ways a freshman too. A guy missed an entire year, so you're looking at 6 guys that have not really played, aggressive quality minutes out there. Dylan looked comfortable out there the second half. Looked like he's been playing a lot of, basketball on the Mott court. And we should name it something else, huh? We should have a 7-Up court or Pepsi, and get some money to pay. Yeah, we got to get some off that. In Mott Gym, every NBA team does it, right? But I think that's going to be a big thing after 10 games. I learned that a lot. I started coaching junior college, and we always had 10, 12 games before conference play, and I was thrown to the wolves very early in my coaching career, and I learned very, very quickly. Played 9 or 10 guys, and let you figure out what your team is made of. Don't be afraid to throw somebody else in there and try something differently. So I think it would stick with that kind of stuff. What do we have? 10 guys play double-figure minutes, maybe? 8. 10 guys get in the game, though, at least. Right. We went to Zach Gordon for 5 or 6 minutes. We had Joe Alwich gave us, 2 minutes. Got his home debut, and just try to get his wiggles out, You had Chris Eversley some foul trouble, and he was able to buy Chris O'Brien some time before we got him back in. So, and then we went small. Zach Gordon, we went smaller, and we didn't have at one point there. I think we went 2-3 minutes without Brian Bennett or Zach Gordon in, and so we wanted to be able to see if we could switch every screen that way.
Northern Colorado is 3 of 18 from 3-point range. Guarding the 3-pointer is got to be a little bit different, for a team who's this prolific traditionally with shooting threes. Can you talk a little bit about the difference tonight versus playing a team like TCU that was longer and maybe trying to get to the basket a little bit more?
Well, it really it allows us the luxury to switch more screens. because we weren't as concerned about the matchups. There were at least 4 or 5 times that we had a big on one of their guards, but we just asked them to press up and put them one direction so then we could bring quick help, and basically saying, okay, well, I'm going to make you a driver. So you saw a few of those where we just got exposed and a guy cracked through and goes straight to the rim for a layup. But I think you saw more contested threes with long arms, and we said, well, we're going to prove, we're going to choose our poison, and that was a nationally ranked 3-point shooting team. We held the 3 for 18, and that was because of our defense. I don't think it was just they were cold. They were hard to shoot because we had big guys on them, and there were obviously some breakdowns, and they ran some on balls. We did some things, and they would throw the corner, and guys slipped to the rim a few times, and you saw, we saw some catastrophic breakdowns, we call them, but at the same time, we saw more contested shots than we saw catastrophic. Again, it's better to be catastrophic with a 2 than it is a 3. With a team that's shooting 45%, you're like, oh, well, hit 2 of those. Those are huge momentum daggers. So we said, well, err on the perimeter, and then we'll learn how to fix the inside. And so I thought that we stayed with that. The second half, that's what I want to know what we held them to point-wise. So we held them 22 in the first and 31 in the second. So, 53 total, we'll take that any night. Anything under 55, anything under 60 in college basketball is a heck of a night. 55 is an outstanding night. Percentage-wise, for the game, we were only 33%. Wow. Why does it feel like we had higher 33%? Because the second half we were 43.
Yeah.